Welcome to the Daily Decrypt, where even currencies, especially currencies, are expected to compete. I am your host, Amanda B. Johnson, and today's episode is brought to you by Exmo. Oodalolly, it is my great pleasure to inform you that the world's first decentralized crypto and fiat exchange, called BitSquare, is set to launch in beta next week. Here to tell us more is BitSquare founder and lead developer, Manfred Carrere. First of all, what is BitSquare and what is your relation to the project?
Yeah, so BitSquare is a decentralized Bitcoin exchange, both for national currency as well as altcoins. And I'm the founder of BitSquare and the main developer. So it's basically a community project. So there are other contributors as well, but most of the work was done by me. And I started more or less 2.5 years ago with the project. And since 3 months, it's already running on mainnet. And we're doing a lot of tests. And next week, on the 27th of April, we will have the beta launch. So it will be really public for the masses, and hopefully the masses will come. And what's special in BitSquare, what makes it different to other normal exchanges is, of course, the fact that it's completely decentralized. That means it's decentralized in the infrastructure. So we're using a custom peer-to-peer network over Tor hidden services to be concrete. And but no worry, nobody need to install Tor or to set up anything. It's integrated in BitSquare, so it just works without any extra setup. It's a desktop application, so you just download it, install it for any operating system and run it. That's it. It's the decentralization part. BitSquare is never holding any users' funds, so the Bitcoin are either on your local wallet or they are locked in a multisig transaction, and that's the security model. So we use a 2 or 3 multisig. So when you're doing a trade, the funds of both users get to that multisig. And when the trade is settled, so when the fiat is transferred and everything is fine, then the funds get paid out to the Bitcoin buyer from this multisig. So BitSquare is never holding the funds and has basically also don't know about the trades. And that's the next point, that it protects the privacy of the users. So BitSquare is never holding any data. You don't need to register. You just download it, start it, and that's it. So there's no verification, no know your customer or AML requirements. And that's possible because BitSquare is not holding funds. So I was talking to lawyers who were working at regulation authorities for financial markets, so really specialists. And they told me, as long as the exchange is not holding funds, and as long as the exchange is not doing the automatic order matching, which is also a point where you need to trust the exchange that they are not scamming their customers, then there are no regulation requirements. We also asked directly in London, or in England, to UK authorities if when BitSquare would be registered in England as a company, if there would be any regulation requirements, and they told us no. At least at the moment, there would be not requirements for such an exchange because it's really decentralized. And
wow, so fiat and not only Bitcoin, but also other cryptocurrencies can all be exchanged on this peer-to-peer protocol using 2 of 3 multi-signature accounts to act as escrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So for the security mechanisms are based on 3 parts. One is this 2 of 3 multisig, where the 2 traders are the key holders, and when everything goes fine, there is never a third party included. And the third key holder is the arbitrator. Also, there is planned a fully decentralized arbitration system. It's in OpenBazaar. For the people who are familiar with OpenBazaar, they call it mediator. So it's very similar. So if anything goes wrong, that I send you the money, but you never receive it because the bank were too stupid to send the money to you or whatever, then you can call the arbitrator. The arbitrator tries to find out what was going on. And if there is a dispute that we don't agree, or maybe I tried to scam you or whatever, then the arbitrator has the third key, so he's able to make the payout with the honest trader. And to not have a single point of failure with the arbitration system, that should be a completely decentralized system as well. So anybody could become an arbitrator. They are anonymous, basically. And to avoid that they are colluding with the other trader and scam another trader, they need to pay a quite high security deposit, which get locked in the arbitrators with the highest reputation. And yeah, it's a little bit complex concept or area, but basically for the users, they should normally never get in touch with arbitrators, because when there are no technical problems and when there are no scams, the arbitrator does not play any role. And when there are too many scams, we have another problem. We have to find out where are the weak points and how to solve this in another way. And yeah, the other security mechanisms are a security deposit. That's a small amount, but even when you're buying Bitcoin, you need to pay up a small amount, which get locked in this multisig as well. And that it's an incentive that you are following the trade protocol, because without this security deposit, you could start a trade, and then when you need to pay the fiat money, you just vanish and you don't continue, and the other need to wait until the period is over and ask the arbitrator. Then it's a question who pays the arbitrator, because the other, you have disappeared and your funds are not accessible to the arbitrator.
So does the deposit go into the 2 of 3 multisig? Is that where it goes?
Yeah, exactly. Also, both traders have to pay this security deposit, and the seller is putting his trade amount when he's selling 1 Bitcoin. Then the 1 Bitcoin of the seller plus the security deposit of both traders goes as input to the multisig. And when the seller has received the fiat amount or the altcoin, then he confirms it in the application, and then there is created a payout transaction with the keys of both traders, and the buyer receives the money and also the trade amount, and both receive the security deposit back. So the security deposit is only locked for the time of the trade, which can be as short as more or less 1 Bitcoin confirmation, where you use a payment method which is settling instantly, like OKPay or Perfect Money. You can really make the transaction instantly, and when both are online, and then you only need to wait for 1 blockchain confirmation on the Bitcoin blockchain. And when you have luck, it's just a few seconds, sometimes 10 minutes or whatever, average 10 minutes. And then the trade is basically done. And yeah, importantly, I've seen that some people think that the fiat or the cryptocurrency transfer is done in BitSquare. That's not the case, and that makes it much easier to develop. Otherwise, it would be a much bigger project, or much more difficult or impossible.
So would one side of every trade, whether people are trading fiat or trading other cryptocurrencies, does one side of every trade need to be in Bitcoin in order for the 2 of 3 multisig to work?
Exactly, because this security mechanism is implemented in Bitcoin. Basically, theoretically, you could use any other altcoin which are supporting multisig as well, but it would be a lot of development effort and not worth to do it. So you cannot trade Ethereum for euro or for dollar, for instance, directly, but you can trade Ethereum to Bitcoin and then Bitcoin to euro or dollar.
Wow. Okay, so Manfred, this is like definitely the first of its kind, correct? Like I'm not missing anything. Like this is definitely a world's first if it works on the 27th.
I think, yeah, it works already. At the end, I mean, the exchange works already since more than a year, but I was using another peer-to-peer network a year ago, and that never really worked well in the Wild West of the internet. So I needed to change the peer-to-peer network, and that cost me another half a year. And so it's working basically. Of course, it takes time for bootstrapping and so on, and will be a longer process to be really bulletproof. But it's already, I think, 200 trades have been done in the last weeks already. There are at the moment, I think, something like 50 or 20, no, I don't know, 30, 40 offers online.
34 online right now.
Yeah. Also offers. So people who are making an offer, it's like for the people who are familiar with local Bitcoin, it's a similar concept that you are making your, I think they call it advertising. So you make your offer, I want to buy 1 Bitcoin for 200 euro, but nobody will take it because, you have to pay probably a little bit more. And when somebody likes your price, he can take your offer or can make another offer himself, and so there is not like in a normal centralized exchange where the offers get matched automatically. Mm-hmm. That's not the case here, because that would not work with that model. It's more like local Bitcoin, where the fiat transfer is done out of system. You receive the necessary data to make the fiat transfer, so the name and the bank account of the other peer. Then you do the transfer, you confirm it in the application, the other get the message, and then the other have to check his bank account. When he has received the money, he confirms as well, and then everything is done. Mm-hmm. But important is that, and that for me, one of the main goals of the application also to make it as user-friendly as possible. So you never have to do anything by email, send anything around. It's everything done in the application, what's possible. Just those parts like doing the fiat payment, that would be, at least for now, not feasible.
And these fiat payments can be, any way that one can send fiat to another person. So like a bank wire, a bank transfer, a Western Union or MoneyGram transfer or even like depositing like paper money at someone else's bank account branch. Any of these things are possible?
At the moment, we have implemented in Europe, SEPA is very the common way how you transfer money over banks. Then we have national bank transfer, where with some extra selection where you can define a specific banks, because in some countries the fees between the different banks are different, so you prefer to just make the transfer to the same bank to not pay too much fees. And OKPay and Perfect Money, which are payment processors, especially OKPay is great because it's bank chargeback free, so that's the best option at the end for such an exchange, and it's instant. And then we have one mobile processor from Sweden and Alipay, the Chinese, and we will add more in future. It's the ongoing work to investigate all the details, as we want to be sure that the risk for chargeback is nearly zero or very low, because something like PayPal, where it's very easy to make a chargeback, mm-hmm. would be too problematic. Mm-hmm. And when you look at local Bitcoin, they support PayPal, but there are nearly no sellers. They're just buyers and no seller, because the seller risks that the other make the chargeback and then he has all the problems. So that doesn't make much sense for such an exchange. So we only try to support those who are supporting hard money. And it's, of course, it's a scale. So perfect hard money is just other cryptocurrencies, and seems that OKPay is really chargeback free. But all others might be chargeback when there is in some special cases, but at least it's very hard and should be very rare.
Wow. All right, so let's talk about somebody who would want to use BitSquare. Is installing it and running it similar to, say, like OpenBazaar? Like if you want to be online and using it, you can have the client open, and if not, you can close the client. And it's not does one need to keep it running all of the time? I'm assuming not.
Yeah. So it's just an application for downloading and installing. So it's running on all operating system. It does not have any requirements for anything else. You don't need to register. You just can start. You only need to add your when you want to make a trade, you need to add your bank account details. When you use bank account as the payment method, or when you use an altcoin, you put your altcoin address in, because that will be exchanged to the other trader. Mm-hmm. And then you can start. So there is no registration or anything. And when you are putting an offer to the offer book, then your client need to stay online, because it's a real peer-to-peer application. So there are no servers or whatever. So mm-hmm. And when somebody's taking your offer, then there is a trade protocol executed. The other trader is contacting your client and exchanging the messages and creating this multi-sig transaction. And for that, your client need to be online. You mm-hmm. don't have, you can sleep, no worry, but the computer should not be in standby, because normally with standby, you lose internet connection and then it could not work anymore. So when you're shutting down your application, your offer gets removed from the other, because somebody else could not take your offer when you are not online. That's a restriction for the moment. There are ideas to how to solve this for later, but it's a little bit complex, and maybe in half a year or in a year, we have other solutions.
Mm-hmm. So how many other cryptocurrencies aside from Bitcoin will be supported outright? How many are supported?
Yeah, at the moment we try to add for the launch already all relevant currencies. I mean, of course, every community will
how many
say,
is that? Is that like 5, 10, 50?
No, I think 22 are now supported. Oh, wow. And all the big ones like Ethereum, Counterparty, Next, BitShares, whatever. Unfortunately, I cannot support at the moment crypto note coins, which are one of my favorites, like Monero. But the Monero at least will be added soon, hopefully. But it needs a little bit extra handling because they have some special software, where it needs extra handling and some extra effort. But I would like to get them in soon as well. And basically, I'm open to any. I don't make the politics, even if I don't like one currency. As long as it's not a clear scam coin, I will add it. I just probably will make a small rule set. For instance, that the currency, when somebody asking me at XXX coin, and nobody's interested in the XXX coin, but they want it, okay, I add it, but they have to at least promote something on their webpage that BitSquare is an official exchange for them, and that there's happening something, because otherwise it's just waste of energy, of resources, because when we are supporting thousands of coins and you have a long list and you don't find your really favorite coins because it's a jungle, it's a damage for everybody. So I want to keep this resource in a ration, something sensibly amount, that there may be 50 coins all in all. And when I see that coins are never used for trades, they get removed again. So it should be only used for those who are really interested to use and support it also. And as BitSquare is a community project, we don't have budget for professional PR or whatever. So we are also dependent that the other who benefit from BitSquare, like other altcoins, are doing some support and some promotion and push the coin as well. And I've seen it already from Faircoin, for instance, or Sia Coin. They already started to promote it and to help. And
and now, is there any monetization in this for you, Manfred, or are you just like independently wealthy and doing this for shits and giggles? I mean, is there going to be a return on investment for you?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, because that's actually one important part of the decentralization, because when BitSquare is not a venture capital funded startup or whatever with intention, because that would introduce some dependencies and at the end single point of failures. And BitSquare also will not become a registered company or whatever. Like Bitcoin is not a company. It's an open source project where anybody can contribute and can work on it or fork it or whatever. And to create incentives for the people who are working on it, and also to get some return for myself for all the work that I've done. So the business model is to take the trading fees. Also, when you create an offer, when you take an offer, you pay a very tiny amount of trading fee. At the moment, it's nearly nothing. It's more or less like the mining fees. And later it will be a little bit more, but it will be under the range, other than the classical range of the fees what other exchanges take. And these fees will go, so I will create a DAO, a Decentralized Autonomous Organization, which basically works in the way that the shareholders of this DAO will, the shares are represented as a kind of a color coin, and the trading fees will get directly from the trader to one of the shareholders, depending on their percentage. So when you have 10% of the DAO, you receive, in average, 10% of the trading fees. So that's the business model, and I hope that I can attract more developers, more people contributing. When they see that it's not only a donation, where when people are donating, they don't expect the normal way that you never get anything back. So it does not scale very much. There are not too many people who are so altruistic to donate without expecting anything. But to have a form of investment model where people who are contributing, they become co-owners. It's like a public company at the end, where the shareholders are the owners of the project. Then I think it's interesting incentive to contribute to the project and make it possible for many people, because when you have a family, you need your income. You cannot spend your time working on such a project. And at the end, it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm working 12 hours a day since a year, probably nearly all 2 years. So it's a lot of effort. Good software is not growing on trees, and to find professional contributors, good developers, and so they're, especially in the Bitcoin space, it's super hard to find those. The competition is, you're in the competition with the big companies, with the big banks and VC-funded companies. So it's pretty hard to find those people. But I think BitSquare has some good incentives, not only from the ideological part that it's really a fully decentralized and privacy protecting project, but it also tries to offer a fair distributed ownership model.
Sponsored shout out from Free Press Publications with the tagline of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement. You'll find daily news, analysis, and opinion pieces on global topics in both text and audio form at fpp.cc.
What gave you the idea 2 years ago to basically dedicate 12 hours a day, 7 days a week to make a decentralized cryptocurrency to fiat exchange?
Yeah, probably it started when I first heard about Bitcoin in 2011. I was completely fascinated. I fell immediately in the rabbit hole, in the infamous rabbit hole. And I wanted to do anything with Bitcoin, but I felt I'm too far away from from my technical skills or whatever. And I was working in a company, so I didn't have time. But later I quit the job and wanted to do something on my own, which was more in my interest. And then I got back. It was especially in this time when Apple kicked out all the Bitcoin applications.
Yeah.
And in this time I wanted, I was working on iOS applications and was basically had idea to go in this direction. But it was short after the time when Bitcoin was rising like hell to more than $1,000. And I felt I need to do something with Bitcoin. It's the momentum, and I'm losing it when I'm not getting in. And I was trying to find a topic where what interests me and where I could contribute something. And I found out about the project what's called NashX, and it was interesting. It's not famous at all. It was a web page where you could somehow do a semi-decentralized exchange. It was never working very well, and so. But the basic idea was interesting. Was 2 of 2 multisig only, and it was the starting point where I have seen, okay, somehow it's possible. It's difficult, but when you mix up the right ingredients, like the multisig, the security deposit, the arbitration system, then you can make it work. And then I tried to started a white paper and designed the concept, how it should work, and then I built a prototype and was actually looking for developers because I thought, no, it's way too big for me and I cannot do it. But I didn't find developers, so I started to develop more and more, and so it was going on. Then I found a few developers joining, and so it was growing over time. People always told me it's completely crazy and way too big. I should pick out a small element and make just that, like a multisig wallet or so. And I agreed basically, but I couldn't stop and got addicted to it. And now finally this addiction delivered some fruits.
Golly. Well, so the beta launch is the 27th of April. But as you said, the software is working now, and there are even like dozens of offers on it right now for trades. So if someone, whether they want to try it out now or after the beta launch, how would they do so? Where would they go?
Yeah, they can go best for our webpage, bitsquare.io. There is a download link to a GitHub page where we have our releases. They are all releases for all operating systems, Windows, Linux, and Mac. And just download it, install it, and that's it. And of course, there's a lot of information on the webpage. There is high-level information like explainer video and then the white paper and FAQ. And all kind of, and we get the forum on the Bitcoin webpage as well, so the community can be more active directly in the Bitcoin forum. We have a mailing list, newsletter, and blog. So yeah.
And a final question: I'm am I correct in assuming that BitSquare, the peer-to-peer protocol, if for whatever reason a lot of users decided they didn't want to use Bitcoin anymore because for whatever reason it wasn't meeting their needs, it certainly is possible to either make it an option for another cryptocurrency to be the 2 of 3 multi-sig trading pair option thing?
Yeah, so as long as the other currency is similar to Bitcoin, like all these clones, which are basically based on the same code, it shouldn't be very difficult. But of course, it's work. But it's a question what you gain from this. Mm-hmm. And I mean, actually, in the beginning, I was planning, or I was very interested to use Ethereum for this because I thought it's easier, and I was not sure if I could do everything in Bitcoin. But it turned out that was not a problem, and it was perfectly fine to do it in Bitcoin. But Ethereum, of course, would be another. But then you have to rewrite a big part of the code because it's completely different. Right. Also, I mean, one very interesting coin would be Monero for that, because with Monero you have kind of perfect privacy, and then you would have on the Bitcoin side, you would have all the privacy of Monero. And I think Monero supports multisig. It would be just as Monero is very different to Bitcoin, it would be quite a lot of effort. And I'm using a SPV wallet, also Bitcoin J, to avoid to download the whole blockchain. And of course, that's a problem what you have to solve with any other currency as well, that you have an SPV version, because otherwise you don't want to download a gigabyte or more just to start the software.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Manfred, that is so exciting. And as someone who knew about BitSquare like a year ago or whatever, it's so exciting to see your launch date really just come around for real. And so thanks for your time and thanks for your software contributions. I will probably try it out.
Yeah, thanks to you for the interview, and hope you enjoyed, and hope people will finally use it.
Very good. All right. Thanks, Manfred.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Today's episode is brought to you by Exmo.com, a cryptocurrency and fiat platform. And if you have an account at dashtalk.org and you have between 50 and 100 profile posts, send a message to Exmo and you will receive X code, which can be exchanged for real Dash at Exmo.com. Well, that's all, folks. Thanks for watching. Sure is nice to have you. Have a good day. There is no question that within cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is king. But could it be dethroned? Certainly. The pace of technological progress makes disrupting established players faster, easier, and cheaper than ever before. If Bitcoin is dethroned, it will likely be for one or more of the following 5 reasons.